later on in the day, and we still have Huma and Millennium to decide who will no longer be tied for first place.
Indeed. So let's get into this champion select. Trundle going to be the first ban out here, and Irelia has been coming back in force and is one of JWoww's big champions. I feel like this meta definitely fits JWoww as a player, like very much a carry-orientated top lane. I used to play a lot of Kha'Zix and Yasuo. Don't really see that in top lane anymore, but Irelia we do.
We saw it in LPL once, that one Kha'Zix
That
top
one
lane.
game. Yeah.
But
Wouldn't say it was a trend just yet.
Yes, right now Trundle very strong in the top lane, converted a bunch of different compositions. I feel his only real weakness is Gnar, which we have seen more in Challenger than anywhere else, but as it's been rising, now has been resurging in LCS as well. But still, they've just decided, no, we want to take that off the board, and the Irelia definitely directed towards JWoww.
These bans are actually hilarious. Ban specifically against Pretty, taking away the Zillion is like control mid laners. That's just like Pretty's game. Plays a control mid laners, Orianna, Anivia, Zillion. So taking 2 of those off the table, and as red side ban's going to take away that Vladimir and Rise away from Huma. So what is the priority now? What's been left open that we really want? We saw a lot of armor prioritization in the first series, and in general in like LCS and around the world. So first pick, Karma, maybe?
Kindred is also available. We've seen a slight increase in the prioritization of Gragas too. So perhaps we could see that. Number of AD carries are left available as well. Caitlyn, something that we've seen banned regularly in LCS. However, not so much in Challenger series, but it does look like that the Karma that you called was on the mark. Does seem that prior experience that you had forgotten about earlier in the day suddenly resurged in your brain.
It did. I mean, honestly, it's not a hard prediction to make. It's just like, oh, this pick that everyone has been like first picking, Karma is open. So yeah, Huma picked that one up. Not a difficult one, but on the opposite side, might be slightly harder. So I'm going to hand that one over to you. What are you expecting?
What am I expecting? So I would expect jungle for sure. I do feel that the jungler, so Rek'Sai, Gragas. I feel like Joker's more inclined to go towards the Rek'Sai rather than the Gragas.
That's true, yeah. He
that is one of his comfort picks. He had a really impressive performance on it last week. But I mean, there are so many junglers available right now. We could see the Hecarim. I'd really like to see the Hecarim. We did see it earlier on in the day. Didn't work out as well as they might have hoped. But, well, there we are. My prediction skills way off today.
Maybe it's going to be jungle Braum, and it's just like, there we go.
Well, it looks like, to me, it's the bottom lane of Millennium. So you have definitely this great all-in potential once you hit level 6 with Ashe and Braum. And Braum is so good at providing peel for that low mobility Ashe AD carry and helping her get through what can be a rough laning phase depending on her lane opponent. But still, when you pair that up against the Karma, when you have the range of Karma who can be quite obnoxious, the big thing you have to be mindful of is the all-in potential that you do have. So Huma could look for a lane swap just to avoid that potential all-in coming out from the bottom lane, but there's no reason why they can't go for standard lanes either. Simply because you have the range advantage. It'll largely depend on what they decide to pick up an AD carry. Caitlyn could be a good pickup if they want something a little bit more aggressive. We have still seen Lucian over in North America. Doublelift, I know, really likes to pick that one up. A lot of playmaking potential in the mid-game, even after the nerfs. So there are a lot of options available.
That is mid-game, though, and we're not even going to have him in this game. It's going to be Sivir coming out again from that bot lane, and the Olaf. So already kind of building a composition around this Olaf, because you've got these 2 movement steroids for him just to run at Ashe. So I like it so far from Huma. I just wonder how else they're going to round out this composition. Maybe just get everything, put like a Lulu in the top lane, just like buff up the Olaf and hope he does well.
Yeah, you've definitely got a comp that says we're going to run at Ashe. Good luck keeping her alive. There's even with the peel from Braum, it's going to be very difficult for her to be able to kite out from Olaf, simply because Ashe's best kiting tool Olaf doesn't feel when he's in his ultimate. So if you can stay alive long enough, then great. One thing that I actually remember from the UK scene, believe it or not.
Already?
There was actually a great way for dealing with Olaf in the top lane was Victor or big area of control mages, simply because what you can do is while Olaf is running at you, he has a tendency to separate himself from the rest of his team. So if you put this big zone control between the Olaf and his team, it basically leaves him in a 1 versus 4 situation where you can then shut him down and then turn around for the rest of the team. So we could see a Victor come out potentially to try and separate the rest of the Olaf from the rest of his team.
And there's a Victor, so maybe that that is going to be the plan. There we go. We did it. And there's the Gragas. I was actually expecting that from Huma, but yeah, we do have the going on to Joko, because Joko, as you mentioned, usually defaults. If it's like one or the other, he'll go towards the Rek'Sai over Gragas, but we'll take that one this game. So also another way of just kind of separating Olaf from the rest of the team. They're running towards him as it's like cast comes out and knock them all away. So
because you can't kite an Olaf, especially when it's a Sivir and a Karma.
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can stop his team from following him up. So that's one of the best strategies for dealing with him, and it's nice to see that Millennium have adapted to that, and they're realizing, okay, if Olaf's going to be the big problem, then let's pick a strategy that can manage that.
Indeed. So our last two picks are going to be, we still need a potential support or mid laner and a jungle or top laner, depending on where Olaf goes. And that is going to be a lock-in of both Rek'Sai and Morgana. So presumably Rek'Sai going to go jungle, then Karma presumably going to go into the bot lane, so Karma mid.
Actually put the Karma mid, yeah. Morgana bot, Karma mid. Morgana's still a really good pick into the Braum, simply because you can't block the binding. And then if you eat the binding and the roots, then you can keep that Braum locked up, and then you can focus your attention, run past him, do whatever you want. And it's a great way of just dealing with him and keeping him in place. You have a lot of pick potential from Huma as well, because you have the run really fast with Sivir, paired that up with Karma too. Karma has a lot of poke. I mean, it's quite an interesting composition from Huma, where they have a lot of good engage, disengage, pick potential, for a lot of skirmish prowess. The only thing that concerns me is they're putting a lot of emphasis on the team fight damage of Sivir, because Karma isn't really known for her big team fight damage.
Right.
Olaf picking up the Black Cleaver will have some threat, but overall in like extended fights, if you just compare the comps, there is so much more damage available on Huma than there is, on Millennium than there is on Huma.
At the same time, it's going to be almost impossible to stop the Olaf once he gets on top of Ashe, because you've got the Black Shield, both speed ups coming in from the ADC and the support. So see how that one. Whoa, it's going to be Shen into the top lane. Ignore everything. Shen into the top lane. Fantastic. Love watching Shen.
But you get to Diamond playing Shen and
just
Alawi.
playing Shen and Alawi, yeah, correct. But now, because Distortion doesn't exist, my old cheese of getting the 3-minute cooldown on TP and Flash is no longer a thing. So a little bit sad, can't do that anymore. But Shen's still a great pick.
And
his
really
new combo
good
is
into
great.
this comp as well, because we were just talking about how you need to be mindful of the Olaf and how he is really one of the big damage-dealing threats, especially for the backline of Millennium. So now Millennium have drafted a composition that says, not only are we going to prevent you from following up on the engage of Olaf, we're also going to give our AD carry as many shields and defensive stats as humanly possible to stall out the Ragnarok from Olaf, and then we can just nuke him down. So right now, I do prefer Millennium's composition. I think it's so much more well-rounded. Their early game is a little bit weak, but once they hit the mid and late game, they're definitely going to outscale for sure, especially with that Ashe. Terrifying towards the mid and late game. But
with that Ashe.
It's the early game is what Huma need to try and take advantage of. They have the Rek'Sai, great for setting up these early ganks. Karma's surprisingly strong in the early game as well, with the amount of harass that you can get down during the laning phase. And if you can get the Olaf ahead early, he becomes very difficult to stop the snowball. So Huma have a very clear win condition of let's win pre-15, or let's build up an advantage pre-15, whereas Millennium are very much like, let's just take it slow, let's take it patient, and then we'll just play towards the 20-minute mark, and we'll basically out teamfight you and out objective you.
It's actually what I really like about the Shen as well, because Spirit's Refuge, like Olaf can get on top of the Ashe, but then he just won't do anything because the Spirit Refuge comes down, and then he'll have to use Q and E while that's up, because he can't auto-attack because they just instantly get dodged. So a lot of tools to keep the Ashe alive, but we'll see if it actually comes down to that, because we theorycraft a lot about how the team fights are going to go in Challenger, and then we just see people run at each other and just go for a fight, and then someone's going to win, but we don't even know.
It's just like, so
click all the buttons.
To play this fight optimally, you need to do this, and just like, screw optimal. Let's just run at each other and hope for the best. So, I'm excited to see the Shen. We've been seeing a lot of Shen in the LCK in particular, rising in popularity. Hopefully we'll see it on the LCS later on this week. But I'm also a massive fan of Karma in the mid lane, simply because when the big new mid lane patch came out, I was a big fan of Karma being the new Lulu, quote unquote, in terms of what she provides in the utility. So I'm excited to finally get to cast a mid lane Karma game.
Well, as we get into game, make sure to use the hashtags HMA win and MIL win, and we'll be seeing what you think as we get into this game and indeed the series in this best of 2. Game 1 here between Huma and Millennium. There is that Karma rocking the Lotus skin. An Impaler coming out here as well. A lot of good skins coming out in this game. And we're heading into the mid lane, so... Yeah, are we going to see a lane swap? Would we see a lane swap? Do you think that's likely?
I think it would be fine to go standard lanes. Shen, well, I mean, you're the Shen expert here, but I would argue that Shen has like no bad matchups. He can pretty much get through every matchup perfectly fine. Like some obviously better than others, but yeah. I would never say to Shen like this matchup you almost always will lose simply because he's just so difficult to kill. He is that tank sustain annoying top laner that's just a real nuisance to deal with. So I think it'd be fine up against the Olaf. And in the bottom lane, when you have Ashe Braum, yes, you have a slight range disadvantage, but there's nothing that a Sivir in the early game is going to do that would necessarily threaten the Ashe other than shove her under turret.
Yeah.
So perhaps they would avoid that because Millennium don't have the same sort of pushing potential, but in terms of the straight-up 2v2, there's no reason why Ashe couldn't hold her own.
So most likely going to see standard lanes. Haha, we're just joking.
Joke.
We're going to see Tabs and Masterwork go into the top lane. It's just a prank. Going to get Shen out of that matchup, and he's going to be double jungling here. Wendelbo's going to be being annoying. And Kristen is actually here as well, so seeing if he can do anything. And the Shen as well is actually going onto that Morgana. Joko over the wall, got ignited, had to burn his flash. And Kaze is going to punish Wendelbo, also gets the extra damage coming in from the Twilight Assault. And Wendelbo will back off and land the binding. So that was a very messy level 1.
So that was abysmal on many levels. So the first is Millennium actually put a ward down in the tri-bush of the at the bottom towards the river, which meant that they didn't see Huma coming up through the river, which just allowed them to get all this free damage down onto the Gromp, which in reality they shouldn't have been starting on anyway because this was their weak side of the map. You want to be starting on the Wolves so that you buy a little bit more time if Huma decide to invade, and it's more likely to guarantee yourself an early jungle camp. As a result of Huma just walking CS advantage, he's going to hit his item spikes much sooner, which means he can start pressuring this Shen, which actually alleviates a lot of the global pressure that Shen can provide, because if he's always sitting on the back foot, being forced underneath his turret, and just losing lots of farm and experience because JR is putting all this pressure down, then Kaze is going to lose what is so valuable as a Shen, which is the ability to chime in or jump in with your ultimate and keep that important target alive. And look at this, Huma, they're onto this tier 2 turret, they're about to get it for free, and the tier 1 in the bottom lane hasn't even gone. Such a massive tempo swing in favor of Huma. They are playing this lane swap so well.
We're going to clear out this mini wave and still carry on pushing. Not going to quite take the tower. Bot lane Kaze is going to take another mini wave, but luckily there's no one there to stop him, so he will finally get that one and is catching up in terms of farm. Impaler's looking for a gank on the mid lane, but Pretty was playing towards the bottom side of the lane, so he's good. Will line himself up for a nice soul flare out from Kadril, so he's going to be hurting a little bit from that. But kind of to be expected, Comma's early game, at least laning, is exceptionally strong if you can land those soul flares. And bot lane, Kaze, is he eventually going to pick up this tower? It's so painstaking as a Shen, because you can't use Twilight Assault, so you do so little damage against the towers. And then he was able to eventually knock it down. Has not gone back yet either. So he's caught up a little. He is still at level 3, but so is JWoww as he was joining the rest of the team pushing. How does that result on the rest of the map, though? So Tabs has got a significant lead over Crysland. Has gone for the Berserker's Grease first, actually, on Ashe. Seeing that more and more, actually.
So the reason why Tabs was able to build up this big CS advantage was because the wave in the bottom half of the map got shoved in towards Tabs, which means that he actually picked up quite a big minion wave, whereas for Crysland, the minion wave hit the tower and then it bounced back. So he just unfortunately caught the CS wave at sort of the wrong end. Yes, they kept the turret alive, which is resulting in them actually holding onto this turret advantage, but this is where the CS discrepancy is built from, purely because JWoww got that shove on in the bottom lane and Tabs could just soak up all that extra farm. So that is the one positive that has come out of this for Millennium, but the big negative will be the amount that Kaze is suffering. The CS doesn't look that big in terms of the differential, but the level difference will be absolutely massive moving forward.
Silver linings. Speaking of silver linings, we have a Cloud Dragon as our first dragon of this game, so we'll be taken a little bit later by these teams as priority will go down. And Kadril will pop into the mid lane using that first teleport. Top tower will finally go down to Millennium, so evening up the towers, but that goal goes over to Tabs and not Kaze. He's still level 3, so 2 level advantage to JWoww. Going to be a while before Shen can get Stan United. And we'll try and CS underneath this tower, but he's getting ganked by Impaler. And now he has to respect the potential dive coming in from Huma. We've got Masterwork coming down, but he's kind of separated. And Kadril's bound him. Will be bound for quite a long time, but there's no real damage there. He's going to have to flash over the wall as the damage was coming in. And Millennium are still losing out a lot from this play. Really, Huma have done a great job of capitalizing on the tempo they gained from the initial phase 1 of the lane swap.
Huma are just using their minion wave so well. They knew a big minion wave was pushing in the bottom half of the map. They'd already set that one up earlier on. And then once the big minion wave had hit the turret, they made sure that they had multiple members ready to get some pressure down onto the tower as Impaler gets hit by an arrow.
Impaler will flash over the wall, but right into the victor. Meanwhile, Wendelbo gets focused down by Kaze and the rest of Millennium. First blood out from Pretty.
So just as we were trying to praise Huma for their smart map play and smart management of the side waves, they end up overextending in Millennium's jungle. They don't respect the engaged potential that you have from this Ashe, and they end up getting caught out. So unfortunately for Huma, they are going to give away first blood. They are going to result in this gold gap being closed. But again, the positives, have a look at what JWoww is doing up in the top lane.
Yep, he is significantly further ahead, about 50 farm. But let's take a look at that start of that play once again. There's a good arrow out from Tabs.
Certainly was. Impaler, he wasn't expecting it, and then the flash route coming out from Kaze to lock down Wendelbo.
Good old flash and dash.
The flash dash. Can you do that on Shen?
Dash and flash. What?
I actually find that's a really hard skill to do. The as you dash, you mid flash, and you guarantee the max range taunt.
It's actually not too difficult. It's kind of like a feeling type thing. Same with like Gragas body slam is very similar. If you still have the momentum while you're traveling, then you can flash. But what people need to realize is like you can flash over someone because it doesn't like draw an extra line between you and like when you initially dash and then when you flash. You have to like flash on top of them.
I see.
So.
See, I don't have to learn any of these fancy mechanics in mid lane. All we need is R, Q, E, and usually they die.
Yeah. So, head to keyboard, yeah. And then hopefully you just outplayed them.
It's pretty much mid lane.
Yeah. Top lane is a game of inches, really. Because it's interesting, because if you both like play really well on top lane, nothing happens, and it's like wet noodle fight. It's like, ah, what a boring lane, but a lot goes into it. Whereas someone screws up once, and then the lane gets completely out of control because someone like misstepped on the creep or something.
Well, even though Kaze did have a bit of an unfortunate misstep earlier on,
not really his fault, though.
No, it wasn't entirely his fault. It definitely was not. But Tabs, it's funny because I think the reason why he didn't get the tower was because when minions are not at the tower, it gets a big stat defense increase. And so he was trying to take the turret without a minion wave, and he couldn't because not only did Huma's bottom lane just get back, but also because he had no minions left. So it was just unfortunate timing for Millennium. And but just the fact that Tabs is doing so well in farm, what they've been doing is Millennium have been putting Tabs in these side waves. They've realized that Kaze, he's a lost cause. They've abandoned him. Just he gets the scraps now. And so Tabs has just been soaking up all this extra farm. They actually put him up against JWoww earlier on with the big minion wave, just keep the push on. And that's resulting in this massive CS lead that Tabs has been able to accrue. But simply because Huma are doing slightly better on terms of, or they were doing a little bit better on objectives, and because JWoww is still doing so well in the top lane, the gold is still even between the two teams.
We'll be taking down the Herald as well, and that will go to JWoww. So yeah, this game has been going swimmingly for JWoww's Olaf. 30 farm advantage, got the Rift Herald, and will be split pushing in a side lane up against Kaze. Typically laning phase now in this 1v1. We'll see how good it is for Shen. He's going to be playing on the defensive regardless. There's no real kill potential for Shen at this point. Unless Joko comes up, but he doesn't have flash, does have his ultimate.
I wonder if Kaze will go Trinity Force this game. I feel like you do need to be a little bit ahead if you want to go for that aggressive itemization, but it just synergize nicely. But look at Joko. He's looking for a potential gank.
He's going to find the ward instead. There's no one to punish him taking away this ward, so 10 gold in the bank over to Joko, and now he'll back off. And yeah, it's good that JWoww is ahead in this game though, because a lot of this composition does revolve around him doing well, along with the Sivir, because you want to be speeding up that Olaf, and if he's behind in this game, then you want to just like send him in to die, and then that'll be the end of Olaf's tale.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The fact that Huma are doing or getting their Olaf ahead right now is great. The thing that concerns me is the damage that we were discussing about during Champion Select, because the only main big damage dealers in teamfights will be Chrisland and JWoww, and because of how far behind Chrisland is relative to Tabs, it's going to take him that much longer to reach that 2-3 item big power spike where he's going to have much more influence in these teamfights. So they are going to be relying quite heavily on JWoww, and if you just look at the amount of disengage and peel that Millennium have, if you have Tabs go up in an extended fight against JWoww, I'm slowly inclined to give that advantage over to JWoww, but look at Masterwork.
He is very much caught out. He's going to flash away, gets smited, ultimate in return. Arrow from Tabs will save the life of Masterwork, so teamwork, once again, OP.
So Masterwork trying to get a bit of deep vision down, ends up getting caught out of position by Huma. It's going to force the flash out of Masterwork, so he doesn't have that flash engage available, but Millennium grouping up around this blue buff are going to be able to secure it, make sure the Huma can't take that one away. But Huma being very aggressive with the vision, they know they control the bottom half of the map. They've built up a big minion wave, and they might look to try and get another push on to this tier 2 turret in the bottom half of the map.
Yeah, mid lane being pushed in. Importantly, the blue buff did not go over to Pretty. It went over to Joko as he had to smite it away. So Pretty is hurting in the mid lane. This will give an opportunity for Huma to take away this first dragon, which will be the Cloud Dragon, as we mentioned earlier. Top lane, kind of not going well for Kaze. Olaf, once he gets rolling with a couple levels in his abilities, I mean, you can't block Q and you can't block E if you're Shen. So yeah, it doesn't go very well. Next dragon, by the way, is Infernal, as you can see
are pretty keen to
on your screen. So good stuff. And mid lane now be punched in as well. So Huma kind of have this, like the control over the map, kinda. Like it's not a lot, but they are making the proactive plays.
So what Huma have is they've been able to get deep vision down the bottom half of the map because, again, they're using their side waves well. Sivir had a big minion wave with her. That was pushing into the tier 2 turret in the bottom lane, and because of that big minion wave, Tabs was forced to go and deal with it. So Huma know that they have the numbers advantage in the bottom half of Millennium's jungle. That allows them to get some deep vision, try and contest things like the blue, and these are the sort of things that you want to be doing if you do manage your minion waves properly. It allows you to be more aggressive towards the enemy's half of the map, and because then Millennium couldn't respond, they invested the smite into guaranteeing the blue buff. That meant that Huma could rotate round and get themselves a free Drake. So Huma right now are playing the map very well, and the one person we've mentioned a lot of the times but haven't really discussed a lot of is again JWoww, drawing more pressure in the top lane. There is no way for Kaze to push this wave out against JWoww, who now is sitting at a healthy 20 CS advantage. He has the Black Cleaver completed, he's got himself the Rift Herald buff, and it's this global pressure that Kaze can no longer provide because he's always forced underneath his turret. And we have to remember how low that tier 2 turret in the top lane's health is, which means that if Kaze ever teleports away, that is going to be an instant free objective for Huma. So just right now, the entire map, even though the gold is very even, is just so heavily in favor of Huma. They're just controlling it so well.
A whole lot of cause and effect in this game from Millennium. Unable to really utilize their composition. Nice arrow from Tabs in the mid lane. That's pretty much everything in the kitchen sink. Throwing a Cadril here, and he's just going to go down. Tabs is the one to secure it with a nice volley in the end. So well played by Millennium, and they will try and capitalize on that by pushing in the mid lane.
So once again, Huma not respecting the pick potential from Tabs. He lands that arrow easily onto Cadril, even though he has the Rod of Ages and hasn't had enough time to stack up. So you are still that squishy mid lane mage, and when you stack that up with the damage that Pretty has available, there is no way that you're going to be able to survive that sort of burst. So Millennium, they pick themselves up an easy kill, they pick themselves up that tier 1 turret in the mid, and now Huma have sort of lost control over what they need to do. They were doing a great job of managing these side waves with Cadril, just controlling the mid, keeping it even. But now, because of what's happened in the mid, Chrisland has been forced to draw his attention round to the mid lane, and so no longer is Tabs under any serious threat in the bottom half of the map.
It's kind of the problem, though. If you don't keep making those proactive plays, one person's just going to be chilling in a lane, and then if Tabs happens to be anywhere near that vicinity, it's just arrow to face, and then you're pretty much dead. So it's going to happen over and over time. But Millennium will try and keep those rolling. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Sivir is pushing in, and Millennium are trying to stop Sivir from really doing damage against this tower. Joko just used his ultimate, which cleared a couple minions, so at least he defended that next wave, but could have been more efficient, I feel. Masterwork is down to half. Impala trying to get some deep vision here as well. And Wenabo just looking for those bindings, looking to zone away from this tower. I don't think Huma are going to get too much done here. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Kaze did have to go back to base. I think he got just pushed out of the lane, and Jay was just going to take the tower. That was 1v1 without any pressure.
Something that we have been talking about throughout this game. Kaze, the moment he leaves that lane, it's just going to be a free objective for JWoww. Now, all Huma need to do is do the same on the other side of the map. Put JWoww on the bottom side. Start putting pressure onto that tier 2 in the bottom half of the map. You'll also have a Rek'Sai who can just keep the wave shove up in the top lane. You have a teleport on Cadril. It is on cooldown right now, but he can just, again, go into these sideways and just manage them, make sure that they're going in Huma's favor. And this is the power that you have with the double teleport. Yes, the Victor is a good pick, but typically you don't want to be running the teleport on the Victor because where are you going to teleport into? Oh, if you're going to teleport behind, how are you going to get involved in the fight? If you teleport for a flank, they're just going to collapse on you. So there's no real effective way to use it on a Victor, whereas running it on a Karma has a few extra advantages because you can TP in ahead of the fight, and you have so much utility that it's not that hard, even if a fight kicks off, to just quickly join in and throw down that CC, or throw down the CC onto an ally to allow them to engage. So when you have these CC utility mid laners, teleport has a lot more effectiveness as the arrow comes in.
Arrow once again. What a spell shield out from Chrisland. I'm not sure if he saw the arrow or he was trying to block something else, but that was either way very unfortunate. There was a ward there, actually. Thank you, observers. So he did see the arrow coming in, and just good reaction time from Chrisland. So wards, they save lives, people. Always invest in those wards.
This was actually something that Crepo was talking about in the OG game the other day, where versus Roccat, where Betsy kept getting picked off by these arrows. But have a look at JWoww, going for the dive onto Kaze.
Kaze did not have his Spirit's Refuge there, so he's going to have to flash over the wall. That means another tower. And this Olaf is becoming a serious problem now. He's just pushing in these lanes, and there's nothing really Millennium can do about it without committing more people there. Tabs is going to split push in the top lane. The classic split push Ashe. And Kader will come in to try and stop him now.
but his arrow is down. Kadril could win this 1v1.
It's all about trying to dodge these skill shots, and Kadril is taking a lot of damage. Kaze is going to pop the ultimate on top of him. He's going to carry it on after, land the taunt, land the damage, and trying to get in range here. Needs another couple auto attacks, hits a minion, but it's going to be Tabs picking up the kill anyway. Now they're both kind of trapped here. Wenabo is going to look for the 1v1. Tabs getting chased down by Impaler, and now with Chrislin coming out, this should be an easy to kill, as Kaze is going to Shadow Dash to relative safety as Impaler looks for the knockup. JWoww now coming in, shield comes up, but boom, double kill out for Impaler. Well, meanwhile, the rest of Millennium will take away the Infernal Dragon.
So many strange things happened there, Pulse. They did many strange things, but Millennium doing the smart thing by getting this dragon in response to the loss of their 2 members, but the fact that Millennium get themselves 1 kill and a turret is overall in their favor. So have a look at this. Kadril, it was my mistake in saying that he could win the 1v1 because the reality is Kadril has no damage, and Ashe has completed her Rune and Hurricane, so there was no way that Kadril was really going to win that. And what you're doing is you're walking up to a red buff Ashe with a Shen on the map. So there was no real way for Kadril to come out ahead. He should have taken the long way and prioritized on cleaning up the minion waves. So Huma feel the need to respond. They send multiple members down, or sorry, up to the top half of the map to try and respond to the pressure that Millennium were exerting. Yes, they get themselves 2 kills, but they do sacrifice the turret already. They already then sacrifice the
Infernal,
dragon. And so many things went wrong there for Huma, unfortunately. Then they still hold on to the gold lead, though. And they still have good control over the map. But right now, this game is slowly becoming a matter of Tabs versus JWoww, and who can be the bigger carry for their team.
Well, Ashe, going for a full crit build, have to feel that he's going to be dealing more damage, and if JWoww can get on top of Tabs, great, but there is a lot of peel actually on Millennium, so it's going to be hard for even an Olaf really to get into those backlines with Ragnarok in this game. And looking at the opposite side, Chrislin actually going for more of a duelist build, going with the Phantom Dancer here as a second item, so looking to be in the side lanes a little bit more.
Typically on Sivir, it's a little bit more efficient to pick up the Phantom Dancer, simply because you can't really make much use. You don't need a static shift for the wave clear. It's also not an amazingly strong item right now. And same for the rapid fire cannon. It's having spoken to Reckless the other week on the desk, he basically said, yeah, those 2 items aren't that great right now, so if you can pick up Rune and Hurricane, that's the item you want to go for. But if not, then Phantom Dancer is a cheap alternative that provides a lot of benefits, especially on a utility-heavy AD carry like Sivir.
I'm actually really sad that Hurricane doesn't have any special interaction with Sivir, with like Ricochet, because we tested that a while back, and I was hoping for like a million of boomerangs to come out and just hit everything, but unfortunately not. So Tabs, he's coming up to the mid lane. Not great arrow. He'll go down mid lane, but Joker will set up the fight for the team. Kadril coming in there, also getting locked down. Hell to flash away, and Chrislin looks at the fight and actually turns tail. Did not want to be taken the right there. That was 2 quick kills over to Millennium, but wait a minute, JWoww's in the base.
I don't know if he's going to be able to get anything, though. Quick teleport coming out from Kaze to stop him, and now Kaze is at a point where he should be able to hold on to the pressure coming out from JWoww, but the Baron being started off by Millennium.
Yeah, 3 people on this one, but also with an Ashe, and Ashe will destroy this Baron incredibly quickly. Impaler is looking for a potential steal. Pretty is kind of following him around, Impaler over the wall, but the Baron is still at 2,000 HP, so he's going to be jumping after Tabs and try and pick up this kill. Joker is dropping low, but not low enough, and Pretty and Masterwork will come in and help finish off that kill. It'll be Victor picking up the Baron. Millennium actually now in control of this game.
So Millennium once again using the fantastic pick potential that they have with the Ashe. 3 members of Huma grouping up in the mid lane. Just look at the minimap. There is no Rek'Sai in sight. There is no Olaf teleport to jump in and join this fight, which means that Huma are just waiting to get engaged upon. Joko with a really good engagement from over the wall. No vision coming out from Huma means that they had no way to respond to it. Yes, he knocked them out of the way, the arrow, which a bit of miscommunication on Millennium's part, but it didn't matter. They had the damage. They had everything that they needed to get themselves the kill. And they do just that. They also guarantee themselves the Baron off the back of it. And because of how Kaze has been allowed to now get to this point where he has the defensive stats, JWoww isn't really strong enough anymore to just push him away from things.
Yeah. And at the same time, Joko, I mean, his ult did everything that it needed to. There didn't need to be an Ashe arrow on top of that, so maybe he could have waited on the arrow a couple extra seconds, but a fraction of a second, you might say, but not this time. So Millennium with the kill advantage and a gold advantage, and having that Infernal over the Cloud in a pretty good shape, plus that Baron pushing down the mid lane. Should be an easy middle tower. I don't really think there's much that Huma can do to stop this. Chrisland putting down a little bit of damage. JWoww's off to the side. And he's actually going to initiate here right onto Tabs. Tabs is going to be knocked up. Meanwhile, Joko is getting chased down. I'm not really sure what's going on. Double kill over to JWoww. And that is the end of the... No, it's not. We're going to see him die again. It's Groundhog Day!
So hopefully we're going to replay of exactly how that fight broke out. But it looks like Huma were able to find themselves
victorious.
a fight.
Yeah, Huma actually just echoed. They just jumped back in time, tried that one for a second time, and this time it worked out.
Yeah, so great abuse of the time
quantum
control
mechanics,
system.
Manipulated the time continuum, time and space continuum.
So, Huma, they do exactly what they need to do at this point in the game, because they are behind, they are struggling, they're going up against the Baron, so they try to force a fight. So let's see exactly how this one plays out. Millennium just face check. Oh, I see. Okay, so Tabs didn't get the peel that he needed. We talked about how this was very much going to be a battle of JWoww versus Tabs, and I like the fact that even though it was Joko face checking the brush, JWoww completely ignored him. There was the Sivir ultimate, there was the Karma ultimate, and they just dived straight on top of Tabs. And he is really the big damage dealer for Millennium. So by taking him out of the fight, they lose a lot of their damage, and it becomes very easy for Huma to then just clean things up. And Kaze, because he did try to ult Tabs, he wasn't even able to join the fight. So the fact that Huma had the numbers advantage mean that there was no way Millennium were going to be able to turn that one around. So really like the execution coming out from Huma, and this is the power of the run really fast card.
Run really fast and get those flanks off. Worked real well for Huma in that last fight. Ocean Dragon being started off by Millennium, going to be taken away by Joko here, but the fight's going to open up. Impaler is onto Joko, but the rest of Millennium are going to close in around him. Taz picks up the first kill. Wendelbo caught out. Good spell shield out from Chrisland will block the arrow, but Wendelbo is being slowed down, and the Rylai's means that he's going to take every single tick of the ultimate. Pretty gets the kill. 2-0 and the Ocean Dragon. Millennium fight back.
So that was a phenomenal gravity field from Pretty to just zone the entire lineup of Huma away from Impaler trying to steal away the dragon and try and start the actual fight off. JWoww was just way too afraid to use his ultimate too early. This is why you have the Olaf paired up with the Morgana, because it means that he can actually run into the fight and then only use his ultimate at the very last second, which is why he holds onto it for such a long time. Impaler comes in from the flank, and there's the wall. It completely zones Huma away. It allows Millennium so much time to get the kill onto Impaler, and then Huma, realizing that they've lost one of their big tanky frontliners, just have to disengage. But Wendelbo no flash, he doesn't have the movement speed, and then when you stack that up with the Rylai's, there's no way that Wendelbo is going to be able to escape. So nice turnaround from Millennium, but also just a really weak engage coming out from Huma.
Honestly, Pretty plays these control mages, these kind of, control-y, zony mages really well, like Nivea, Orianna, Victor. He always places down the zoning spell so well in these fights, and that's really what I feel like has defined Pretty in the challenger scene. Very unique playstyle compared to a lot of the kind of carry-orientated mid laners I feel we have in challenger. Pretty really about getting those zones down where he can make sure that the opponent can't all group together. So well played by him and Millennium.
And for me, it's a little bit strange that we're actually seeing Kadril on this Karma, because as a player, this isn't really one of his champions that has come to mind. He has always been the Varus Twisted Fate sort of player, where he either runs really good poke or he likes to have sort of global pressure with the TF.
Sure.
But he's now switching more towards these utility sort of mid laners, and I just feel like it's not his style, and which is why he's sort of struggling, why he's overextending a little bit. He wants to be aggressive. It's why he went for that 1v1 versus Ashe. Typically on the champions that he's used to playing, he would win that matchup, but on a Karma, you're not going to. So I feel like right now, Kadril is a little bit out of his comfort zone playing this Karma. I don't think he's bad, but he has been caught out a few too many times. Currently 0-3, matching the number of deaths that Wendelbo has. It's not a great game so far for Cade.
No, because Huma had such a good start to this game as well over Millennium. It looked really good with the lane swap going awry, and then everything else just kind of snowballing out of control. It's like no one can stop JWoww. And even now, JWoww is looking really good. He's about to Flame Horizon Kaze in the top lane, but he actually just is finding it difficult to execute Olaf up against the enemy team, right? Like, he's either getting zoned out by Pretty, or he's getting in there and being separated from his team. So we'll see if they can get another great engage. The good fight that Huma did have when they manipulated the space-time continuum was when they were able to get a flank out of vision, basically. They were able to come in from fog of war. So if JWoww can do that again, or maybe also use the teleport, then that could be a way of Huma getting into a fight, because they're still strong. They just can't really get the fights that they want.
Thing is, if you're going to run straight at Millennium, then they're going to be able to use their zone control abilities and their tools of disengagement to prevent Huma from getting the ideal engagement. So as long as Huma, as you rightly say, can get a good flank off, then maybe they can turn a fight in their favor once more. But have a look at this potential arrow coming out from Tabs.
Here comes the potential flank coming in from Olaf, though, from the back lines right onto Tabs. There's a shielding coming out already. He's going to flash away, and JWoww is no longer able to get on top of the Ashe, and everyone from Huma is getting blown up by Pretty. Great ultimate coming in there, and Pretty will pick up that first kill onto Weno, but the rest of Huma are wounded and having to back away. Millennium turn their sights towards Baron.
So we were talking about the potential engage coming out from Huma and how they needed to get the flank down onto Tabs, but unfortunately for them, the shield from Kazi was just way too strong. Millennium, they're going to go for the Baron. I don't know if Huma can contest.
No, it's already dead. Pretty is the one to secure it, and JWoww with no Ragnarok gets CC to high heaven. And Huma will lose their big Viking in the top lane. The rest of them will try and run away. Slow down onto Kadron, Krislin, Joko, and Kazi in hot pursuit. Does he have the Shadow Dash? That is the question here, Vedius.
He doesn't have the flash available, but as Millennium gradually going to go for the chase, Masterwork using his flash. I feel like Millennium overcommitting a little bit too much of this one kill right now. They are going to try and push down the mid lane to pick up whatever objectives they can. Kaze does have his teleport, so he can just teleport into the mid lane as Impaler.
But there's only two people pushing mid lane. It's Tabs and Pretty, and actually great ultimate in from Kaze. Tabs is not even dead. He's just going to get 2 kills. All on that Kaze ultimate. 5 people dead. That was not what I was expecting to come out of that play, Vedius.
No, I was not expecting that whatsoever. Level 17 Tabs just goes on to Wendelbow. He wasn't expecting that turnaround whatsoever. And then just the damage from Millennium as combined with the TP from Kaze means that it's a very easy kill coming in for Millennium. And off the back of that, they just straight up end the game. So Millennium, very, very, very bad start. Like, that was awful.
Well, that escalated quickly. It was like over 2 minutes, and then that was just the end of the game. That was actually kind of surprising. I was expecting like one more good fight coming in from Millennium, but they could never really find it. It was just good setups coming in from Millennium. Played their comp perfectly, I feel.
I wouldn't say perfectly.
Only because outside of the laning phase, like the lanes went quite badly, but I think they played their composition well in mid game, late game, despite being pretty far behind. Like, Shem was in the dumpster pretty much coming out of the lane swap. He was so far down.
But the thing is for Huma is they needed to take advantage of the fact that JWoww was really strong. And while they did leave him on a side lanes, you can understand that basically they had this mentality of, okay, JWoww's really strong. There's no way Kaze is going to be able to stop him. So Kaze can just keep taking these turrets, especially if we move our players along with the minion waves, then we'll have the numbers advantage all the time. There's no way that that Millennium's going to be able to do anything about it. But Millennium just said, okay, so you're going to send 2 members to a different side of the map, then we're going to engage. And then they would fire the Ashe arrow, they would have a flank come in from Joko on the Gragas, and it was just... there was no way that Huma could respond because they were always overextended ever so slightly in the mid. They would leave themselves open to getting engaged upon, and while their vision in the early game was really good, it was deep and they had good control of the map, it just slipped over time. They were never really warding their potential flanks. They were never staying on the side of the map in which they actually had control over, and that was just allowing Millennium to slowly crawl their way back into it. And as long as Millennium didn't face check any brushes or allow the potential flank to come in from Huma, we saw exactly what happened in the late game. That JWoww just ran straight in by himself. He tried to kill the Ashe, and he quickly realized, oh, Ashe with a shield that has like 500 extra health on top of the Ashe.
Actually can't kill that.
I can't kill that, especially when I've got Iceborne Gauntlet, Black Cleaver, Banshee's Veil. That you don't have enough armor to deal with that, let alone, like, sure, you might have damage, but your DPS is not going to out DPS the Ashe, especially when you've got no armor. So it was simply a matter of Millennium, I do feel, had the easier draft, even though in the later game, sorry, even though the lane swaps went badly, in the late game it was much easier to execute their composition, especially with the Shen, than it was for Huma. So moving forward, I feel like Huma need to keep their early game. They just need to push that advantage forward. You know, they knew they had everything they needed to succeed. They just then didn't really turn that into anything positive.
I completely agree, though, but that's kind of exactly what Huma needed, right? They needed a good early game, and if there's any way that they're going to win a game, it's generally from like messy early games where they pick up the advantage and then just snowballing it. And it looked so good because, like, you know, you got all the towers coming in from JWoww, but they weren't able to execute properly in the mid game, which I feel is a big problem because Huma don't always pick up that advantage in the early game. So if they're playing from behind, then they're going to be shut up by Millennium. But that's kind of what we said coming into this series. Like, we feel that Millennium, or at least I do, that they are a step above Huma. Not like a clear step, obviously, as we saw in the early game, but they are like ahead, at least in terms of our estimations coming into this. But actually, this could go to a 1-1 like the first series of the day. It was definitely closer.
I think it will still be a 2-0 for Millennium.
Yeah.
Simply because of the way in which they played, the way in which they drafted. They had a weak early game, but they knew that they scaled better. We talked about it during Champions Select, where once you hit that 20-minute mark, that Ashe plus Shen combo is going to be devastating. You can never underestimate the damage of a late game Victor. When you combine that with the somewhat poor engages coming out from the side of Huma, it just seems to me like Millennium, you give them a team fight comp and you give them long enough in the game, then they're always going to be the ones to come out on top.
It's also Shen being the one who's behind. He's still going to have the utility, right? Like, he can get level 16 and still have a massive ultimate coming out. It's not like he's just got less AP in this game. It's not like he builds Rabadon's death cap, right? So it's actually not too bad. If they'd put behind like Tap, for example, then yeah, probably good, because like the Shen can be super fed and go for like the cheesy build of going for like Triforce and Titanic Hydra, which is fantastic, by the way. If you get a chance to do it, it's really fun because you hit like a truck.
I do think it was smart from Millennium to just put tabs on all the side lanes and basically go, okay, we're behind in the early game. Kaze, he's done. Just get us to your power spike as quickly as possible, because it is going to be you versus Olaf, and as long as you're to a point where you do more damage than he has tank stats, then we're always going to win. And the fact that he went Banshee's Veil, I think, was a big contributor as to why Ashe in the late game was just very easily able to shred through that Olaf, and resulted in Millennium taking the first victory of this series.
Pretty much. And as they did, we are going to take a quick break before they head to the Rift for the second game of this series, so we will be seeing you in a few minutes. The rest of Millennium are going to close in around him. Taz picks up the first kill. Wenelbo caught out. Good spell shield out from Crimson will block the arrow, but Wenelbo is being slowed down, and the Rylai's means that he's going to take every single tick of the ultimate. It's already dead. Pretty is the one to secure it, and JWoww with no Ragnarok gets CC to high heaven. Two people pushing mid lane. It's Tabs and Pretty, and actually great all of it in from Kaze. Tabs is not even dead. He's just going to get 2 kills. All on that Kaze ultimate. 5 people dead.